You think you deserve that money? That trust fund belongs to Madison now. She's better than you'll ever be. The words from my stepmother's phone call cut through me like a blade. I gripped the edge of my small kitchen counter, struggling to steady my racing heart. Vanessa's voice dripped with satisfaction as she delivered the news that she'd drained the trust fund my mother had left for me. My name is Olivia Carter, and at 35, I thought I had finally. Tonight, I was in Denver, preparing for a client meeting. It should have been just another Tuesday, until Vanessa called to gloat about stealing. Thanks for letting me know, I replied, my voice controlled, betraying none of the fury burning inside me. I could almost hear Vanessa's smug expression falter at my composure. She had expected me to scream, cry, beg. Anything but this quiet acceptance. That's all you have to say, she pressed, clearly irritated by my lack of reaction. Madison needs that money for her wedding and a new house. And you? You are just going to waste it on your pointless career. I thought about my mother, who had built a successful real estate firm from nothing. She had left me that trust fund to ensure I could follow my dreams, whatever they may be. Vanessa, who had married my father just 2 years after Mom's death, had been scheming for years to take it away. Is there anything else? I asked, keeping my voice even. Silence. What Vanessa didn't know is that, 6 months ago, I had met with my mother's attorney, Mr. Whitman. He had warned me about the unusual inquiries Vanessa had been making regarding the trust. Together, we had put safeguards in place, legal protections that made unauthorized access impossible. In fact, what Vanessa had just done wasn't only unethical, it was a crime. You've always been a disappointment, Vanessa spat, one last attempt to provoke me. Your stepsister deserves this more than you ever did. I ended the call and turned to look out the large window of my Denver apartment. My hands were trembling, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From anticipation. Because I had her exactly where I wanted her. For years, living with Vanessa had felt like walking through a minefield. After my mother passed from cancer when I was 18, my father buried himself in work to cope. 2 years later, Vanessa arrived, dragging her perfect daughter Madison into our home. The message was clear from the start. I was the outsider. My mother's company had been her pride, her way of securing my future. The trust fund she left me wasn't just money, it was her legacy. Her final act of love. But Vanessa saw it as something she was entitled to. Your mother wouldn't want you to be so selfish, she would say, her voice dripping with artificial concern. We're a family. You should share. But we weren't a family. Not in the ways that mattered. My father was oblivious, either by choice or by manipulation. He only saw what Vanessa wanted him to see. Madison, the golden child, was showered with praise for every minor accomplishment. Meanwhile, my academic achievements, scholarships, and the business degree I earned while working 2 jobs were barely acknowledged. The breaking point came during my college graduation. I had finished top of my class and already secured a lucrative job. My father was supposed to be there. But the morning of the ceremony, he canceled. Madison isn't feeling well, he had said dismissively. She needs me right now. I never forgot that moment. I never forgot how alone I felt. And I never forgot how, from that day forward, I vowed to never rely on my father or anyone in that house again. Now, standing in my apartment, my heart pounded with something close to exhilaration. Vanessa thought she had won, but she had no idea she had just walked straight into a legal disaster. I reached for my phone and dialed Mr. Whitman. It's time, I said simply. He didn't need any further explanation. By morning, Vanessa would learn the truth. The trust fund was locked with ironclad legal protections. Every transaction, every fraudulent attempt, every manipulation was documented. She hadn't won. She had lost. And this time, I was ready to make sure she paid for it. Now Vanessa had insisted, that was the moment I knew. Nothing would ever change unless I changed it myself. I moved out the very next day and threw myself into my career. The trust fund remained untouched, not because I didn't need it, but because I refused to give Vanessa any leverage over me. Every visit home was the same. She would make sly, condescending remarks about my privileged position, about how Madison struggled without the same advantages I had. 6 months ago, when Mr. Whitman called to warn me about Vanessa's unusual inquiries, everything finally clicked into place. She'd been playing a long game, biding her time, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. But I wasn't the naive, vulnerable 18-year-old she had once manipulated. I was my mother's daughter, and I had learned from the best about how to protect what was mine. The trust fund wasn't just money. It was my mother's legacy. Sitting in my apartment that evening, I pulled out the small photograph I always carried of her. She was smiling, confident, the kind of woman I had always aspired to be. That trust fund was supposed to be my safety net, my chance to take risks and build something of my own, just like she had. I dialed Mr. Whitman's number, my fingers steady despite the rage still simmering beneath my calm exterior. He answered on the second ring, his voice familiar and reassuring. "Vanessa finally made her move," I said, cutting straight to the point. "She claims she transferred everything to Madison." "I was expecting this," he replied. "I got an alert about an attempted breach of the account this morning." "Don't worry, Olivia. The additional security measures we put in place worked exactly as planned. Every attempt was logged and documented." I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "So nothing's actually been transferred?" "Not a penny," he confirmed. "But we have her dead to rights on attempted fraud. The documentation is airtight. Would you like me to proceed with the next steps?" I thought about all the years of manipulation, the belittling remarks, the way Vanessa had slowly chipped away at my relationship with my father. She had been so sure of herself, so confident in her control, that she never once considered I might be 2 steps ahead. "Yes," I said firmly. "It's time to end this. Send the evidence to the family lawyer. And copy my father on everything. I want him to see exactly what his wife tried to do." "Consider it done," Mr. Whitman assured me. Then, after a brief pause, he added, "And Olivia, your mother would be proud. She always said you were smarter than anyone gave you credit for." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and booked the first flight home. My client meeting would have to wait. I had a family matter to attend to, and this time, I was the one in control. I landed in Boston early the next morning, the autumn air crisp against my skin. My father's house, the one I had grown up in, looked exactly the same. But as I walked up the steps, something felt different. Maybe it was me. I had called ahead to let my father know I was coming, but I hadn't mentioned Vanessa's phone call. Some conversations needed to happen face to face. I found them all in the living room: Dad, Vanessa, and Madison. Vanessa's smug smile faltered the moment she saw me, replaced by something that looked dangerously close to panic. "Olivia?" My father looked surprised. "I wasn't expecting you until later. Is everything okay?" "Actually, Dad, we need to talk." I pulled out my phone and opened the file Mr. Whitman had sent me the night before. Vanessa called to tell me she emptied my trust fund and gave everything to Madison. I turned the screen toward him. "I thought you should see exactly what happened." The color drained from Vanessa's face. I was just trying to help Madison," she stammered. "Don't." My voice was steel. "Every attempt you made to access that account was documented. Every call. Every forged signature. Every lie." My father took the phone from my hand, his brows furrowing as he scrolled through the damning evidence. "Vanessa," he said slowly, his voice dark with something I had never heard before. "What is this?" She faltered, searching for an excuse that didn't exist. "She doesn't even need the money. She's doing fine on her own. Madison needed it more." I turned my gaze to Madison. Unlike her mother, she didn't look smug anymore. She looked guilty. "I never asked her to do this," she said quickly. But she never stopped her mother either. My father's expression hardened as he looked between the two of them. "I trusted you," he said to Vanessa, his voice quieter now, almost hollow. "I trusted you with my family." "Don't be dramatic," Vanessa snapped, attempting to salvage what little dignity she had left. "We're a family. Money should be shared." I scoffed. "Funny how you only believe that when it benefits you." My father shook his head, still staring at the evidence. Then, to my surprise, he looked at me. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. I had never heard him ask me that before. I met his gaze and answered without hesitation. She committed fraud. Let the lawyers handle it. Vanessa gasped. You wouldn't. I smiled. Watch me. For years, she had controlled the narrative, manipulated everyone around her, made me feel like an outsider in my own home. Not anymore. This time, I was the one writing the ending. Every signature, every manipulation. It's all here. I handed my father the file, watching as his hands trembled while flipping through the pages. With each passing moment, his expression darkened. Vanessa, what did you do? His voice was barely above a whisper. She's lying. Madison jumped in, her face flushed with anger. She's always been jealous of me. I pulled out another document, the full trust fund statement. The money is still there, I said coolly, setting it on the table. Safe. Untouched. Every attempt Vanessa made to transfer it failed. Because I was warned about her plans months ago. I took precautions. Precautions? Vanessa spat, her composure slipping. You set me up. I let out a small, humorless laugh. No. I protected what was mine. Just like my mother taught me to. Silence stretched across the room as my father continued reading, his grip tightening around each document. Every manipulative email Vanessa had sent to the bank. Every forged signature attempt. Every calculated move she had made to try and steal my inheritance. It was all there in black and white. I did this for our family. Vanessa protested, but her voice wavered. Madison needed. Stop, my father's voice cracked. Just stop, Vanessa. His eyes met mine, filled with the same deep pain I hadn't seen in him since my mother died. Olivia. I had no idea. Of course you didn't, I said softly. Vanessa made sure of that. Mr. Whitman had organized everything chronologically, years of Vanessa's attempts to manipulate my father while positioning herself closer to my mother's money. The latest documents showed her most recent, failed attempt to transfer the trust, followed by her furious calls to the bank when she realized she had been blocked. This is ridiculous. Madison shot up, her face burning with frustration. Mom was just trying to make things fair. Olivia's always had everything handed to her. I turned to my stepsister, a mixture of pity and exhaustion weighing on me. Handed to me? I repeated. I worked my way through college, built my career from nothing, and I never once touched that trust fund. Mom left it to me because she wanted me to have options, just like she did. But Vanessa couldn't stand that, could she? Vanessa's composure finally cracked. You ungrateful little. I've already filed charges, I interrupted, my tone sharp. The bank has all the evidence of attempted fraud. Mr. Whitman is handling everything. Then I turned to my father. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, I said, my voice softer. But you needed to know the truth. 12 years of manipulation. Lies. Half-truths. I could see it all dawning on him now as he looked at Vanessa like he was seeing her for the first time, and not in a good way. And then, in the next few moments, everything changed. My father stood up, gripping the documents in his hands, his entire body rigid with tension. Vanessa, he said, his voice eerily calm. I want you out of this house tonight. Vanessa's head snapped up. What? Her voice rose to a shrill pitch. You can't be serious. After everything I've done for this family? Done for this family? My father's voice was quiet but firm. You tried to steal from my daughter. You forged my signature. You've been lying to me for years. Madison started crying, not her usual manipulative tears, but real, raw emotion. For the first time, I saw actual shock in her expression. Maybe she was finally realizing the gravity of what her mother had done. The police will want to talk to you, I told Vanessa. Mr. Whitman has already filed the reports. The bank's fraud department is involved now. Vanessa's eyes darted around the room before landing on me, filled with pure hatred. You planned this, she hissed. You knew I would try to access the trust fund. I met her glare head-on, unfazed. No, Vanessa. You planned this. I just made sure I was ready when you did. I turned back to my father, my voice steady. There's more, I continued. Mr. Whitman found evidence that Vanessa has been skimming money from your accounts for years. Small amounts. Slowly building up over time. My father's face turned pale. He sank back into his chair, shoulders heavy with the weight of betrayal. I felt a pang of guilt for the pain he was experiencing, but he needed to know the truth. "Get out," he said again, his voice barely above a whisper. Then, louder, stronger. "Both of you." Vanessa's face contorted with fury. "You're choosing her over me?" she screeched. "My father didn't even look at her. My lawyer will be in touch." And just like that, it was over. Vanessa had spent years trying to take everything from me. But in the end, she was the one who lost everything. And this time, I wasn't looking back. As Vanessa and Madison hurriedly packed their things, throwing accusations and tears around in equal measure, I stood quietly by the window, the same window where I used to wait for my mother to come home from work. I could almost hear her voice. "Always be prepared, sweetheart. And never let anyone take what's rightfully yours." The house felt different without Vanessa's presence, like a weight had finally been lifted. But the real work had only just begun. In the weeks that followed, my father and I had some long overdue conversations. One evening, we sat in the kitchen, the same kitchen where my mother used to help me with my homework, and for the first time in years, we truly talked. "I failed you," my father admitted, staring into his coffee cup. "After your mom died, I was so focused on not being alone that I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. We both made mistakes," I said, choosing my words carefully. "I could have told you sooner about Vanessa's behavior. But I wanted proof first. I needed you to see it for yourself." And now he had. The legal proceedings moved quickly. Vanessa faced charges of attempted fraud and financial exploitation. She tried to paint herself as a victim, claiming she was only trying to equalize things between Madison and me. But the evidence was overwhelming. The bank's documentation showed years of calculated attempts to access my trust fund. Emails, phone calls, forged signatures. Vanessa's trail of deception was undeniable. Madison reached out to me via email not long after the dust settled. "I didn't know," she wrote. "I swear I didn't. I always thought you had everything handed to you. Mom made it seem like you were the privileged one, but now I see she was just jealous of what your mother built for you. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if I fully believed her. Maybe she had been blind to her mother's manipulations, or maybe she had just chosen to look the other way. Either way, I understood she was struggling with her own revelations about the woman she had trusted. It wasn't my job to forgive her, but I did recognize that, like me, she was trying to rebuild. With Mr. Whitman's help, I finally did what I had always wanted. I started my own business consulting firm, something I had dreamed about for years, but had been too cautious to pursue. The trust fund my mother had left me became the seed money for my new venture, just as she had intended. Your mother would be proud, Mr. Whitman told me during one of our meetings. She always said you had her business sense and your father's heart. She knew you'd do great things when you were ready. My father and I settled into a new rhythm. He started visiting my office for lunch once a week. Sometimes we talked about my mother, sharing memories that Vanessa had made uncomfortable to discuss for so many years. Other times, we talked about the future. He was finally starting to look like himself again. One afternoon, over a simple lunch of sandwiches and coffee, he smiled and said, "You know what your mom used to say about you?" I shook my head. "She said you were like a diamond. Pressure just made you stronger." I swallowed hard, emotion catching in my throat. She was right. Life moved forward. My consulting firm grew quickly, attracting clients who appreciated my direct approach and industry expertise. I built a small but talented team, including Sarah, a brilliant analyst who reminded me of my mother. Same drive. Same determination to prove herself. I saw pieces of my mother everywhere in my life now, not in grief, but in strength. Vanessa's trial ended in a plea deal. She avoided jail time but had to pay significant restitution. She was also banned from working in any financial capacity. The last I heard, she had moved to Arizona to live with her sister. Madison stayed in Boston, working as a teacher's assistant. We maintained minimal contact, mostly through the occasional polite email. And that was fine with me. One evening, my father and I sorted through old boxes in the attic. Among stacks of photographs and faded business documents, we found my mother's old business journal. Inside, tucked between the pages, was a letter. It was addressed to me, dated just weeks before she passed. My hands trembled as I unfolded it, my father watching in quiet anticipation. "My dearest Olivia," it began. "I'm leaving you more than money. I'm leaving you the freedom to choose your path. Don't let anyone dim your light or tell you what you deserve. You're stronger than you know, smarter than they give you credit for. And one day, you'll realize that for yourself." Tears blurred my vision as I traced the ink with my fingers. "I love you endlessly. Never forget that, Mom." I pressed the letter to my chest, swallowing back the wave of emotion that threatened to overtake me. For the first time in years, I truly understood what she had meant. The trust fund wasn't about money. It was about freedom. And now, I was finally free. And capable of anything you set your mind to. Trust yourself. I do. Love, Mom. Those words became my mantra as I built my business. I framed the letter and hung it in my office, a daily reminder of where I came from and where I was going. My father retired from his job and started volunteering at a grief counseling center, helping families navigate loss without losing themselves. Sometimes he consulted for my firm, bringing years of experience and a perspective that complemented my approach perfectly. Looking back on those events 5 years later, I'm amazed at how much has changed. My consulting firm has expanded to 3 cities, helping pharmaceutical companies streamline their operations, just like Mom used to do. The trust fund she left me didn't just secure my future. It became the foundation for helping others build theirs. My dad retired completely last year, but he still visits the office from time to time, mentoring our younger employees. He says it keeps him connected to Mom's legacy. We have lunch every Wednesday, making up for all those years we lost to Vanessa's manipulation. The hardest lesson I learned wasn't about money or betrayal. It was about standing up for myself. Mom knew that one day I'd have to fight for what was mine. And she made sure I had the tools to do it. She taught me that true strength isn't about being tough, it's about being prepared. About being patient enough to wait for the right moment. Sometimes, I visit the old house where I grew up. My dad still lives there, but it feels different now. The walls have been repainted, the furniture rearranged. All traces of Vanessa's presence have been erased. Last week, in what used to be my mom's office, now my dad's library, I found her collection of business books. Inside one, she had written notes about teaching me how to run a company someday. I never got that chance with her. But I'm building something of my own now. Every decision I make in my business carries echoes of her wisdom. The trust fund she left me wasn't just about money. It was about believing in myself enough to stand my ground when others tried to take what was mine. Vanessa's attempt to steal my inheritance taught me something valuable. Sometimes, people show you exactly who they are. And the best response is to be prepared. I'm grateful now for those difficult years, because they shaped me into someone my mother would be proud of, someone who doesn't just survive challenges, but grows stronger from them. The family photo albums have been reorganized, keeping only the memories that matter. On my desk at work sits my favorite picture, Mom and me at her office, both of us laughing about something long forgotten. It reminds me daily that while some people try to tear you down, others build you up in ways that last a lifetime. On the anniversary of my mother's passing, my father and I visited her grave together. We brought fresh flowers from her favorite garden, a tradition we had started that first year after Vanessa left. Standing there, I shared with him the letter I had found in Mom's journal. He read it silently, his hands trembling slightly as he held the worn paper. "She was always thinking ahead," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "Even when she was fighting for her own life, she was fighting for yours too." In that moment, I realized that every step I had taken to protect her legacy, every choice to stand firm, every decision to build something meaningful, was her final gift to me. "She would be so proud of you," my dad said, placing a hand on my shoulder. "And I couldn't be prouder to call you my daughter." Together, we stood in quiet reflection, knowing that while some wounds never fully heal, love and resilience have the power to transform even the deepest scars into strength. If my story has resonated with you, if you've ever faced betrayal, manipulation, or the challenge of standing up for what's right, I invite you to share your thoughts. Leave a comment below, tell me, What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to fight for something that was rightfully yours? I want to hear your stories because I know I'm not alone in this. So many of us have been underestimated, taken advantage of, or told that we don't deserve the success we work hard for. But we do. You do. More than anything, I want my journey to inspire you to take control of your own story. Whether it's in your career, your personal life, or your relationships, never let anyone make you feel unworthy of what you've earned. If there's something in your life that feels unfair, something that you know deep down is yours to protect, don't let fear stop you. Gather your proof, trust your instincts, and be patient, because the right moment to act will come. And when it does, stand firm. Speak your truth. Don't let anyone take away what you've worked for. And if you need a sign to start believing in yourself, this is it. You are capable of more than you think. Remember who you are and prove them wrong.